Hello and welcome back to the Skipper's View podcast, episode 218. I'm Brett. That's Hagen. Brought to you by Chinook Seedery. Use the discount code The Skipper's View to get 10% off all your sunflower needs from Chinook. Again, that's the Skipper's View, 10% off. Go check out as well Stat Soldier, new website that Dean and his compadres have created. It's awesome. The graphics are sick. We're using a lot of those photos in our blogs and our tweets. If you've been noticing them, they're super, colorful, and they're super simple. And they're really good player profile of exactly what baseball nerds like us want to see on a player page. So, Hagen, we have a lot to jump into here. First and foremost, this is the hot corner segment. So let's talk about the hottest team in baseball, and that's got to be the Cleveland Guardians. So in the last 11 games, they're 10-1. They were riding a 10-game win streak. And then that was, they obviously lost last night. But right now, Cleveland, and we're going to talk about a few teams here before we really go into the playoff field, but Cleveland was an afterthought kind of as an American League wild card, maybe, and now they could take the division. This is kind of wild, and not only could they take the division, in the process, they might be able to knock the Detroit Tigers out of the playoff contention. It's very, very possible. We'll see. There's a bunch of teams right here that are, in that 84, 85 game win mix between Boston, Cleveland, Houston. I think at this point, we'll talk about the American League in a little bit, but like, Hagen, did you see this, especially with this, the unpaid administrative leave of all-star closer Emmanuel Clase? What have you noticed about Cleveland here? Or is it just random?
I mean, I think they were the biggest playoff lock this entire year just because of how big they got a lead in the AL Central, knowing it's probably the weakest division in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, as of August 25th, the Guardians were 12 and a half games back. Even then, even 2 weeks ago, I don't think anyone had them winning this division. And now they're one game back. They have 3 games against the Detroit Tigers coming up. They can easily win this division, and you can take it two ways. You can say how well the Cleveland's been playing at 10 of their last 11, like you just said, or it can be Detroit, who's been not a good baseball team for quite some time now.
Yeah, they're 1-9 their last 10. And the crazy thing is, actually, like an idiot, I'm in the playoffs right now in multiple fantasy leagues, and one of them I'm like fighting for first. I probably have no realistic shot in this Roto League. I'm still 6 points back, but I forgot to start Tarek Skubal, and he was a dog the other day in his last start. He was very good, and it's like, how is this happening to Detroit? 1-9 in their last 10 games, and if this continues, this is kind of what we saw last year with Detroit, where it was like lack of rotational depth, and they relied too much on spot starts from the bullpen. And now it's like, is Tarek Skubal again? We all know he's a walking quality start. He's going to win probably unanimous Cy Youngs here. He might not win unanimous this year, but I think he should, especially considering the latest stint with Detroit, that he's still pitching well. So we'll see how that all unfolds. But Detroit really needs to get it together ASAP, or it's been like, what a waste of a first half, and what a lead they had in the American League Central. To paint your point, we all thought Detroit was good and locked in the playoffs, and people, this is baseball. Like, this will happen if you don't win series, and we talk about it all the time, that wins always matter. No matter if they're in May, April, June, July, they always stack up. Let's talk about Milwaukee, because I want to, really, before we get into National League playoff talk, we keep talking about Milwaukee like they're like not supposed to be doing like what they're doing and how good they've looked as a team in 2025. Hagen, this is their third straight National League Central title. The Cubs are in the National League Central. The Reds, who have all these promising prospects. The St. Louis Cardinals are in the NL Central. And then you got the Pirates, who, like, obviously they got a youth movement in the pitching factory, but no one's expecting them to be winning playoff games here. What does this tell you? Like, are we all just constantly underrating Milwaukee? And you were there this weekend, so how was it?
I mean, it was good. I think you even see even more just seeing whatever their lineups, their stats displayed on the scoreboard is you kind of look at it even more and you're like, there's not, obviously you have Chorio there. You have Contreras there who's had a down year. You have Yelich there. But you look at everyone else in the lineup, and it's just kind of like the numbers are like you wouldn't think they're the best team in baseball, but just the numbers in the lineup. But then watching the game, they come through and it matters. They play tough baseball. They don't strike out that much. And if they do strike out, they're going to foul off 3 or 4 pitches before they do so. They run the bases well. They take the extra bases on bad throws. They're just a good fundamental baseball team. Like, I mean, it's if you're going to have to be if you don't have all these stars and the superpower like that. But I think you are too. I think this whole season have been underrating Milwaukee from the sense of I thought about like them winning the playoffs. How would I feel about facing them? And for a long time, I was like, I don't care what the record is. I'm probably going to feel comfortable playing them over any of these National League teams. Coming from a Mets fan, and now I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I don't want to play Milwaukee right now. I think, granted, you can say about pretty much 5 of the 6 NL teams you don't want to play, but Milwaukee just does everything right. And they haven't had Trevor McGill, their closer. He's been out for a while. There's a few injuries we'll talk about later, too, that just came up. But this team, we said 3 years in a row now. It's just, I think we are kind of sleeping on them a little bit. We all know they're going to be in the postseason every single year, or at least be within the chase in the last week of the season. But this is the first time in a while that I felt very confident in Milwaukee going into the postseason, thinking that they're a real threat to win the World Series.
Yeah, I think like unfortunately, and we were going to mention this in the IL. We'll just mention it now. Brandon Woodruff, obviously, I don't know if you would consider him the ace, but the fact that I could consider him, like it's up for debate. Milwaukee's just been so good. Like Freddie Peralta's for this season alone, probably he's the ace of the rotation there. But you got Brandon Woodruff, you got Jacob Mizorowski. Logan Henderson has been making rehabilitation starts, and he looked very impressive when he was up. Milwaukee also, who's the other guy who just went down? Was reporting about him. Jose Quintana. Just hit the IL due to a left calf strain, and Woodruff, who we all know had an extended absence prior to this season, from I think it was shoulder surgery. He's now dealing with a strained right lat, which is like no bueno, obviously, but. I don't know. Milwaukee, like I think they can absolutely win a World Series. I'm just saying I felt a lot more safe about that pick about 7 days ago. And like they're still playing well. Woodruff and Quintana, you want that rotational depth. And Milwaukee, like they do have a really good bullpen. We bring up guys all the time in the bullpen, so I think they can handle those 2 injuries. But obviously, heading into postseason baseball, you prefer that not to happen to 2 of your frontline starters there. So, let's keep going though. So covered off Milwaukee, covered off on Cleveland in terms of, hot performances right now. We got to talk about a team not so hot. And unfortunately it's your team, Hagen. The Mets, they were once 21 games over 500. They had a playoff spot every day since April 5th. They're now technically out of the playoffs, and Cincinnati is projected to get in the playoffs in that wild card spot. They have a payroll that's $222 million less than the Mets. Hey, what are your thoughts right now? Are you still optimistic, or do you think where are you at?
There's a lot of thoughts right now. Obviously, as a Mets fan, you have to be optimistic. That's part of what being a Mets fan is you got to believe no matter what's going on in the season. 6 games left. I want to trust this team, but I also look back since June 12th. They're 17 games under 500 as a team. They only have records better than, I believe, the Nationals, Rockies, and Twins. So they just honestly, and they were the best team in baseball before that. So since June 12th, they've been just a very bad baseball team, which is kind of more what I'm buying into here, especially when you don't have the destiny in your own hands now. You're playing a 3-game series against Chicago, who just got swept by Cincinnati, which makes even more of a win. That means the Cubs need to win even more so, just because they're coming off a 4-game sweep. But there's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now with the Mets. I really don't feel great. I have belief in this team still, but you can't rely on 3 rookie pitchers to carry you into the postseason when you have starting pitchers making $20 million a year and they can't go more than 4 innings. You have to piggyback them together. It's just not a recipe for success. And even too, Adam Rubin, who used to cover the Mets for ESPN, he put out this the other day that the last team to be 21 games over 500 at any point in the season and miss the playoffs, the 2007 New York Mets, which is known as arguably the worst collapse in franchise history.
Hey, you know what? Detroit's dealing with their own little collapse as well right now. So not all the spotlight's on New York, but Detroit also has a lot less payroll than New York. So I like kind of feel for the Mets because like I, I I like their guys. I love Lindor. I love Pete Alonso. I want Francisco Alvarez to be that dude. Like I have bought my buddy his kid who's 2 years old. I bought him out of 25 Francisco Alvarez. He doesn't know about it yet, but I bought it for him. I have here, and I just want to like the Mets to be good for the National League. Like I don't care about the Dodgers in terms of like personal fandom. I'm from New York, so yeah, I think it's really tough. I feel like Mets fans have had to deal with a lot of nightmarish scenarios, and this is right up there with some of the top nightmares that they've experienced over the years. So hopefully they can stick it out. Hopefully they can get in there. More just because I think the Mets also, for some reason, even though I'm not trying to throw slight at Cincinnati's pitching, Cincinnati could definitely pitch their way into a win or two with Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott over there through a wild card series. I just like the Mets bats better against a postseason ace. Like if they get matched up against San Diego, I just like the Mets hitting off Dylan Cease more than I could bet on the Reds to hit against like a Dylan Cease or a Michael King or what have you. Let's talk about the overall playoffs though right now. So right now, funny enough, in the American League, not one team has clinched their division. So you got the Blue Jays who've clinched playoff berth. You got the Mariners in the West leading the division right now, and Detroit. The wild card, as of right now, would be the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Guardians, and the Astros. Believe it or not, are now the odd man looking out. Hagen, what do you think is going to play out here? What are you looking forward to seeing this week? And one thing I will lead with is the Yankees, who I know their schedule for the rest of the week. They're playing the White Sox at home, and then they're going to play Baltimore at home. They're 2 games back on Toronto. I'm not saying it's out of the question for the Yankees and I brought this up because the schedule, I brought this up on the podcast before. I think that the Blue Jays, I'll pull up their schedule real quick, but they've had a tougher road. They're playing the Red Sox this week who are fighting for playoff berth, and then they're playing Tampa, who's bending over to no one. So, how do you think the East is going to play out? Let's start there.
I mean, the East, I think I'm going to stick with the Blue Jays here. I think they already clinched it. I think they really want that. Obviously, there's a few injuries that they're going to deal with. Getting some guys back for the postseason where the bye would really help them more than other teams per se. So I still going to stick with Toronto there, just especially having that 2-game lead. I think it's big with only 6 games left. Yankees really have to hope for something and win pretty much almost every single game the rest of the year. So I'm sticking with Toronto there. Obviously, Boston really has no chance to win the division now.
Dude, in Boston, who's got to play Toronto? We could jump over the Central because the Tigers, who are in jeopardy of missing the playoffs after they looked like a lock at the All-Star break, they're playing at Cleveland, who's fighting them for the division at Cleveland. And then they got to go on the road, Detroit, to Boston. I think Detroit has their work cut out for them this week. Very much so. And Boston as well, playing Toronto and Detroit. This is like kind of a crazy week to be watching regular season baseball.
I mean, it's definitely going to be an exciting weekend just with the matchups and how they've worked out with the teams that are left and who they're playing. And what I'm looking forward to the most is that Cleveland-Detroit series, because that pretty much is going to come down to who wins the division most likely. Obviously, if Detroit has the 1-game lead, they have the 1 game to spare there. I don't know who would win the season series or what it is right now, but even after Cleveland plays Detroit, they still have 3 against Texas, who's lost 7 straight games too. So you're going to lean towards Cleveland's schedule, being the hottest team in baseball right now as well. I think I said 2 weeks ago that I haven't bought in the guard ball this entire year. Now I'm buying into it. You kind of have to for what they're doing at this point. Just playing a great baseball overall. So I'm very excited to see that because, I mean, the Tigers can miss out on the playoff chances here. Obviously, the Astros are the guys looking out right now, but they have 3 against the Angels and 3 against the A's. Like, they have very winnable games the rest of the season, too. Granted, they're not at full strength or anything, but it looks like they have probably the easiest schedule out of any of those American League playoff teams left in there. So it's going to be a very exciting week to see how this shapes out in the next 5 or 6 days.
And we mentioned Houston; they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing their hearts out because they're right now the odd man out. But Seattle, they play versus Colorado in Seattle, which if it goes Seattle's way, they're taking 2 of the 3. Let's not look directly at a sweep. Hopefully, Colorado can take 1. But then their last series of the year, Seattle, they're playing the Dodgers, dude. And the pitcher matchups I'm looking at, and this is according to ESPN, game one, which would be Friday, is Kirby versus Kershaw. And then it's Gilbert versus Glasnow, and then Bryce Miller versus Emmett Sheehan. That is playoff baseball if I've ever heard it, seen it on a piece of paper. That is it right there. That series is going to be so critical to because obviously the Dodgers are still fighting. We'll jump to the National League in a second, but I think the West, the Central, and the East all might have massive shakeups here in the last 6 games of the regular season.
I mean, we already did see a little bit of a shakeup out there in the West with obviously going into that Houston and Seattle series. I don't think anyone thought Houston was going to get swept during that, and that's almost locked up. Obviously, they're 3 games up, 6 games left. They have to win the games rest of the season still, but it almost guaranteed the Mariners a chance to win the division. And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I've never seen the Seattle Mariners win a division in my entire life. Like, I think it's incredible for Seattle's fans. I think, obviously, I've already said you're a very closeted Seattle Mariners fan out there. I like the Seattle Mariners. I love that roster. It would be great too, especially with the Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez has been second half Julio this year. They have an amazing pitching staff. You could probably say they're the favorite right now in the American League to come out of it, especially with how well they've been playing recently. But it's great for Seattle to see them have the chance to win their first division since I believe 2003 or 2001.
I don't even know. That's a good question, and we could look it up as we're going forward. But it's been a while since they've done it. I also, by the way, out of my 3 like individual balls, see the rest have like typical plastic casings, except for the box here in the middle that I'm pointing to. That's Mantle and Hank Aaron. Of course, they get their own little box together. These 3, the only other 3 guys that I have out of all my baseballs that are in these little plastic things that are in like little turf bottom nice cases. Randy Johnson, former Mariner. Ken Griffey Jr., former Mariner. And then I have Brooks Robinson, but the reason he has a special engraving in his, highlighting how many silver sluggers he has. So I thought that was cool. And I was like, all right, it's my only one with like a special engraving on it. But we'll keep moving forward. No one gives a shit about my ball collection. Let's jump to the National League. The Phillies, they've clinched. Mets, we've talked about them a lot. They're fighting for their lives. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. The Royals and Rangers, we didn't highlight in the American League. They both are still mathematically have a chance. I'm not going to spend a lot of airtime talking about Kansas City, a team I don't believe in for this year, and Texas, who's you just said lost 7 straight. So it'd be highly improbable.
If one of those 2 teams makes the playoffs, I will delete my Twitter account.
Don't say that. We need you. You have to create another alias.
Yeah.
What would that one be? Be like you have to do a punishment for a year and do it like a Kansas City themed alias, like
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that, like Bobby Witt's Truthers or something like that. That'd be funny. The Adolis Garcia prophecy. Let's talk about the National League, though. So the Mets we talked about them. Phillies clinched. The Marlins are still technically in this, and I don't think they're going to make it. The reason why I bring them up, Hagen, we talked about the Marlins in depth with Peter Bendix earlier this year, and I said it then, and you said I might be a little premature. I said look for the Marlins to possibly be, playoff contenders this year, just due to their pitching staff and like what they were doing with the young guys. And 6 games left in the regular season. I know their odds to make the playoffs don't look good. They are not mathematically eliminated with 6 games left. And there are a lot of teams that are mathematically eliminated already.
And the biggest thing about that too is their final 3 games of the year come against the New York Mets, who Mets fans, we've been for 2 months looking at the end of the season on who we're going to play, and have already been terrified, even when they were in a playoff spot, terrified to end the season in Miami. The Mets just can't win baseball games their last few years. And they've already lined Sandy up to go game 1 of that series. So the Marlins are building it up to play against the Mets and see if they get a good chance in the wild card here.
Yeah, so in the National League, funny enough, the Cubs already clinched playoff berth, but obviously the Brewers won the division. So the NL Central, if it holds true right now, it goes Cubs, Padres, Reds for the wild card, meaning the NL Central can get 3 teams in. Who saw that coming? Did you see that coming at the beginning of the year?
I don't think anybody did. I think it'd be more, would you get three teams above 500 coming into the year would be more of the question. Because obviously, I think everyone had the Cubs and the Brewers in there, but I mean, maybe not everybody, but you at least knew they were both going to be close in the race there. I don't think anybody had three NL Central teams making this. I think you were looking at really just the West and the East there. On, I think everyone had Mets, Phillies, Braves there, or at least one of those teams was out there, and you had Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Padres in there.
Yeah, the Braves are eliminated before the Marlins. Who had that take? Like, that is such a disappointment season and disappointing season in Atlanta right now. That being said, Mets are right outside looking in. The Diamondbacks, who, they traded a lot of guys at the deadline. They were very active in shopping, and they're still in the fight. They're one game back on the Mets in Cincinnati. It's really impressive, actually, what they've been able to do, especially with Zach Gallen having like a pretty bad. I know he's been good as of late, but he's had a bad year overall. Then you got the Giants, probably going to be eliminated here in the next game or two. The Cardinals and the Marlins. So, I don't know. Hey, any other thoughts on the National League you want to talk about here? Is it pretty much like, let's just see how this plays out after all this conversation?
Obviously, just going to be those last three teams: Diamondbacks, the Reds, and the Mets. I think it's going to be changing every single day. You're going to be checking the scores of those three games. It's going to be a different conversation every day, depending on how those games go. But I think Arizona, you have to shout out them a little bit, just because obviously they closed their season out with the Dodgers and the Padres, the third hardest remaining strength of schedule left in Major League Baseball. But it's great to see them come here. Like you're saying, Gallen has been a great turnaround this year, and even they sold at the deadline. Their whole bullpen. I think they've had their top three relievers from the beginning of the season. They're all out. They have no bullpen right now. And then you sell a guy like Geno Suarez, Josh Naylor. You sell two of the biggest bats that were on the entire market. You sell them. I mean, Geno Suarez still has a chance to hit 50 home runs probably. He's at 47 right now, I believe. So it's incredible that they sold and they're still in this position one game out of the wild card.
Couldn't agree more. All right. Well, let's talk now that we've kind of gone through the playoffs. It's the end of the season, and you all know what that means. That means that we're starting to see end of season, numbers like the totals that we took overs unders at the beginning of the year. Not us, but we're saying the betting and baseball fan community. We're seeing accolades being broken, the historical numbers. So we got to start with the biggest news of the week. Obviously, was the retirement announcement of Clayton Kershaw, the man, the myth, the legend. So you got his autograph on the jersey. I got his autograph on the card. I couldn't be more excited about us both having that now, like knowing his career is done in a few short games. And this one it hits home. It's a little emotional because he is a guy that we've talked about this about generation pitchers for you and I. I think, is right in the middle of us two. He's been in the league 18 years. So he came around when I was 13 years old. I'm now 31. Think about that. Like at 13, I was watching, and we were watching baseball. We were in high school we were in like maybe 7th grade, 8th grade, but like we were watching baseball like and have cognitive memory of this. And now as a 31 full adult, still having awesome years, still slicing and dicing. And this was something that I didn't expect it right away, actually. Did you expect this year? Did you expect this to be his last year, I should say?
But I was kind of curious for a while if it was going to be his last year, but it was when he got the commissioner pick for the All-Star game is kind of when it really hit me that this is probably his last year, even though he didn't announce it.
Yeah, and I guess I can't do a good enough job of explaining the importance this man has had on the game of baseball. I'm just going to show his baseball reference page. Like, he's a pitcher. He's won a triple crown at the pitching position. He's won an MVP, 3 Cy Youngs, 11 All-Stars. Read the page, people. He has a career 2.54 ERA and 80.5 WAR, and that's through almost 3,000 innings. He's in the 3,000 strikeout club. There was nothing. And he's got World Series titles. There was nothing more that this man could do than what he's done in baseball. He's had arguably one of the most rewarding careers a player's ever seen in the game of baseball. We're losing a good one, and I'm saying like he's dying. He's just moving on to the next stage of his life, like being a full-time dad and like other ventures. I'm sure he wants to play golf and shit. I don't blame him, but this is just, as a baseball fan, it's like, damn, Clayton Kershaw is done throwing the ball in a few games. What are where are you at with this?
Obviously, kind of like you were, it is just kind of sad because it's just childhood ending. I haven't watched the Major League Baseball season without Clayton Kershaw being in the league. So it's kind of weird on that aspect where I've seen him be the MVP for him. I've seen him being able to deal at 36 years old. I mean, this guy spent over half of his life playing Major League Baseball. That's not including the minor leagues, his high school ball, like this guy's played baseball his entire life. And he's 36, 37 years old. And now he's going to call it quits. So it's definitely been a huge life change for him. But just congrats on an awesome career. I mean, he's top 10 pitcher of all time. You can make the argument that he's the best left-handed pitcher of all time for the era he played in and all that. I put this out the other day. He's the second pitcher in MLB history to have 3,000 strikeouts and an ERA below 2.6, joining Walter Johnson. I mean, it's an incredible career that Clayton Kershaw did. And it was, I don't know, it's very sad seeing him do that. Obviously, I think the reason why he waited so long to kind of announce it too is because he's not someone that wants this huge spotlight on him. I mean, even the last game, his teammates let him take the mound out there by himself, and he was calling him back out there, come out there. He didn't want to be alone out there. But it's incredible to see some Clayton Kershaw, especially when he spent it all with one team, where that's very rare to see nowadays for guys spending 1 year with their career, especially with the business side of baseball. But I thought it was amazing to see it, especially pulling him out. Obviously, you want to see him more go 4 1/3, but I think pulling him out after a strikeout too was very fitting for Dave Roberts there to let him get his moment too from the crowd. Let him walk off there after striking a guy out. Let him get his moment from the crowd. And then even after the game, when he had the pickaxe and he was removing the mound by himself, that was really cool to see after, especially just because, I mean, this guy's not even just meant a lot to us baseball fans or just Dodgers fans. I mean, just what he's done for the sport as a whole. I mean, how many kids in your backyard? I mean, growing up, you're going out there replicating pitching motions. Kershaw is one of the biggest guys that everyone would do back there when you're growing up playing football in the backyard. You're going to imitate Clayton Kershaw. I mean, this guy's done a lot for the game of baseball, and it's definitely going to feel weird without him being in the sport.
It's definitely going to feel weird. I think that's a really good way to put it. Like, I just had to Google it because I wanted to. This is according to AI, so if it's wrong, sorry. Clayton Kershaw's thrown estimated 46,250 pitches that have been tracked by Pitch FX, the Pitch FX system. So this is regular season, postseason, spring training between 2008 and 2025. 46,000 and change pitches this guy's thrown. His arm, the fact that it's still intact is a miracle in itself. It's insane. Yeah, but we can go on all day talking about Kershaw and just like his legacy. Like, he seems like a real cool dude. Like, I'd love to hang out with him sometime if he'll ever have me. But yeah. Anything else you want to talk about Kershaw before we move on?
I mean, it's just going to be really cool to see him. I don't know if he's going to get a start. Probably not going to get a start in the postseason, but it's going to be interesting to see if he is make a postseason appearance and if he can kind of change the narrative on him a little bit. If he can change the postseason, he can't perform there. But it was really cool to see him get his. Obviously, he has the COVID ring, but some people don't count that. I can see it was a different scenario, but it was cool to see him last year get a true ring for that means last year with the Dodgers, and it would be pretty cool to see him get a second one.
I can go all day actually now thinking about this. Like, I'll mention this real quick. The more and more I think about playoffs, like, I think especially in baseball, I'm not going to comment on other sports now because I haven't thought about it as much. But baseball, I understand the clutch factor. Baseball, because of how strategic the game is and people could pitch around you, they could, you know what I mean? It's not like you're an NBA player and you're making the same 3-point basket while wide open from a specific spot every time. Like that's, I think, easier than like, hey, we have a guy throwing a 98-mile-an-hour cutter against you this inning. The next inning, we're throwing in a lefty who throws like a crazy vert curveball against you. And they're purposely trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think like Aaron Judge, Clayton Kershaw, they both get bad raps for postseason. They're two of the best guys that's ever played the game of baseball. Like, I think it's a little harsh to comment on their postseason when one very limited sample size, and we know in baseball we take big sample sizes to define who a good player is. So I hate that aspect about that. I think that's a good call out, and I would love to see him actually just shove now to get the playoff reputation a little away from him a little bit more, especially at age 37. It's like, dude, throws his best game out there ever in postseason 37. Who's going to talk shit about him? No one, except for haters. Let's keep moving, though. Another guy who's had an awesome year, and we brought him up virtually every episode, Cal Raleigh. So he hit his 55th and 56 home runs last week, breaking Mickey Mantle's single-season record for the switch hitter and tying Ken Griffey's franchise mark. And this happened back on September 16th. Today's the 22nd as we're recording. So he was tied with Sosa, who did it in 98, Piazza in 2000, Luis Robert Jr. in 2023, Judge in 2024, and then now Raleigh in 2025. In terms of, hitting those 56 home runs. Now, a few days later, Cal Raleigh is now at 58. He's broken Ken Griffey Jr.'s franchise. Hagen, I think we just naturally have to talk about, is Cal Raleigh now back in the MVP? Like, I don't say like he wasn't out of the MVP conversation, but I feel like the last 2 weeks it's kind of been like, no, it's totally Judge. No, now Cal Raleigh deserves a chance. And then it's totally Judge. I think this is going to be a tight MVP race, I think. I think a lot of people are going to vote for Raleigh.
I was thinking about this morning where just looking at the stats compared to him and Judge now, where obviously he has the lead by 9 home runs. He's behind by 0.4 F4, which that gap is very, very slim now. It's very hard. I honestly don't know who I would pick with this MVP right now because Judge has been the best hitter in baseball. I mean, he's 38% better hitter than he has been this year by WRC plus. But it's just so hard, especially when you factor in that Cal Raleigh has caught 118 games this year and DH 35 of them. He's catching at an above average level. I think by fielding run value, he's the 39th ranked fielder in baseball. Aaron Judge is the 67th ranked fielder by fielder run value. So, and that doesn't factor in what he has to do with his pitching staff, get ready for games and all that. So it's so hard to me. I know betting sites have it as even. I think they were both minus 115 together on who would win MVP. I genuinely do not know where I would go with this pick. If I was a voter, I would be very tied, especially it's one thing if he doesn't hit. It's different if he hits his 62 home run mark that Aaron Judge did a couple of years ago and he ties that or breaks that. But if he doesn't, I hate to just put an MVP race just on home runs too. I don't want to just be, just because he hit 63 home runs, he deserves the MVP because that's not how it should be. But it's so tight that I think something like that might come down to be the final factor on it because I don't know where the voters would go at this point. I think it would be very close either way. It would be probably a 16-14, a 17-13 with the way the voters would go with either way. I could see winning it.
I'll say this. Like, yes, I'm going with Judgy here. This kills me because this is now like the third or fourth MVP race in the last few years, honestly, where one person has this nasty season, and that's exactly what Judge is doing. He in terms of batting average, he's batting 326 on the year, which is first in baseball, compared to Cal Raleigh's 247. So Judge is not only hitting the shit out of the baseball, he's also hitting for power. And that's why he's going to eclipse 50 home runs this year. He's at 49. That's fourth in all of baseball. Raleigh, yeah, he's got 58, and he's probably going to get to 60, and it's going to be cool for a catcher. But Judge is hitting 330, essentially. And the OPS, he blows him out as well. I just think that, like, Judge... And in terms of importance of to the team, I think they're both equally important to their teams and their lineups. I just think Judge's numbers are more impressive being able to bat, and he missed time and he still has 49 bombs. Judge, he's going to finish north of 50. We've seen him play a double-digit home run, not a double-digit, a multi-home run game is not out of the question for either of these guys. So we'll see how they both end up finishing up, but it's going to be really exciting. I just think Judge is going to take it home at the end of the day.
I mean, it's whoever takes it home, it's been a great race this entire season. And it's so hard to pick now because it's obviously Aaron Judge. If you just look at the numbers, yeah, Judge is you would think he's getting MVP just if you look at the numbers. But then factor in that Cal Raleigh's had arguably the best catcher season of all time, the best power hitting season for a catcher ever, the best power hitting by a switch hitter of all time. It's kind of hard just because I know the base numbers. You're going to look at Judge, you're going to say he's MVP. I'm a big numbers guy. I look at that and I could see that. But you also have to factor in that Cal Raleigh's doing stuff we've never seen before. And it's so hard to factor against that. And I don't know who's going to win this. I think it could come down to just if Judge gets hot for the last week and Cal Raleigh slumps for a week, it could come down to that, honestly.
You're absolutely right. Like either one of them could slump this week, and our entire narrative has changed. Let's jump ship from the current AL MVP race to a guy who used to win AL MVPs like it was candy, and that's Mike Trout. Because Mike Trout just hit his 400th career bomb, and my goodness, was it a moonshot of a bomb to do it on. So Mike Trout's kind of lived in the shadows this year, and that's because he's batting .230. It's arguably one of his worst batting average by season that he's had. But Hagen, 87 WAR, got three MVPs, 11 All-Stars. He's won 9 Silver Slugger awards with now 400 bombs. This is guy, without a doubt, first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's first ballot Hall of Fame. I mean, he's already 29th in F4 of all time. He still has a chance to be the 21st person ever to break the 100 WAR, which is still, it's going to be a little bit of a climb there now with where he's at this part in the season or in his career. But he's got to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. When I started getting into baseball, Mike Trout was the one everyone wanted to be. I think he's gotten a little bit forgotten about. I think just because now with the social media and all this, we just look into recency bias more on who's performing now. Talk about Judge. You don't talk about Mike Trout that much anymore. And I get that he's older and he's been hurt for a long time, but it's weird that we haven't talked about Trout when he's had a really healthy season. I know his WAR is only about 2 this year, so it's been a down year for him. But this is awesome to see that you get that accolade from him, especially when it was a few months that he was just doing on a power drought and he wasn't doing it all. But then he's also sold out for the power, but he wasn't hitting any home runs, and it felt like he was sitting on this milestone for a long time, honestly. But it's incredible to see Mike Trout get this. I mean, I think if I look at my generation when I got into baseball and over the course of my life, like what players have meant the most in my life to Major League Baseball, I think Trout's got to be there because before his career started going downhill, it seemed like everyone was saying that this guy could end up being a top 10 player when it's all said and done in Major League Baseball history.
Dude, I don't know if while you were going, if you're able to see what I was presenting. It was his baseball reference page. For anyone who is listening audio only, there was a 9-year run between the 2012 season and the 2020 season, 9 seasons in a row, where Mike Trout finished top 5 or better in MVP voting. And out of those 9 seasons, only 2 of them was he outside of the top 2 in MVP voting. Meaning this guy in 7 out of 9 years was the best player in baseball or the second best player in baseball. And then, the 2 other years, he was the 4th and 5th best player in baseball, according to MVP votes. So, unreal career Mike Trout's had. I will mention, we almost have to talk about it just because of the 400th and what happened. I don't know if you saw this. He, I guess, made a deal with the guy who caught the 400th home run ball. The guy just wanted an experience. He didn't want, like, a payday, and asked to have a catch with Mike Trout, where I get it. That's really cool of you to, like, do to Mike Trout and not make him pay. Hey, and you're making – and if you catch a big ball and someone's coming to you, you're making them pay for it, correct?
Yeah, that was my first takeaway. Was like that was a really cool moment, especially to see like Trout. It felt like it meant a lot to Trout too, playing catch with that guy, and it felt like it really touched him doing that. But it's really cool to see that. But at this stage of my life, it's a 21-year-old. If I caught Mike Trout's 4th home run ball, I would be getting that payday, respectfully.
Dude, I'm 31. I would have at least negotiated. I would have been like, all right, let's have a catch. Let's give me a ball that you like inscribe. Like I wouldn't have him inscribe anything like. I would just have him do his like stats or whatever, or accolades, and Mike Trout, and then play catch and maybe ask him for like a cash, but not fully of what a 400th Mike Trout career home run baseball is going to fetch at an auction, just to get a little money out of it, dude. How often no one catches these things. The chance of catching a baseball alone are so low, and then catching a baseball of high value is very rare. Obviously, it happens, but not to this guy. And I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I'm selling the baseball. I don't care how that makes me sound. Let's keep
I
going.
mean,
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think you have to not even if it's not even just selling it, but at least like you were saying, negotiate with the team and Trout on. Even if I'm not going to take this to auction, I'm going to get something out of this instead of just playing catch. But that doesn't despise that. That was a really cool moment to see though from Trout and the fan.
Yeah, very cool moment. And we highlighted this earlier. The Arizona Diamondbacks, how they made all these moves. They were clear sellers at the deadline. They're still in contention for the wild card, and a large portion of that happens to be about two players. And we'll bring them both up now. Let's start with Corbin Carroll. So the reason why I want to bring up Corbin Carroll, for those who don't know, he just entered the 30-30 club. Huge accomplishment for the 24-year-old. And, it feels like Corbin Carroll's like a seasoned vet. He's 24, dude. He's 24. And the last 3 years since 2023, home runs 25, 22, 31. He's not only one of the fastest guys in baseball, he's got legit power at 5'10", 165 pounds. And if we look at the stolen base numbers since 2023, 54, 35, 30. Dude, Corbin Carroll might be like the most slept on superstar in baseball, in my opinion.
I mean, he doesn't get the love. He plays good defense too. He doesn't get the love. The stolen bases have probably gone down a little bit just because of the injuries he's had the last couple of years. Obviously, he's missed some time, and also too, I think when you have I think I believe $180 million into a guy like this at 24 years old, you're probably going to tell him to slow down the stolen bases a little bit too. But you're right. I mean, there's just so many stars right now and superstars in Major League Baseball that it's so hard to give them all the love they deserve. Like everyone says, like Jose Ramirez is the most underrated player in baseball. I think there's about 5 to 10 guys, like Corbin Carroll being one of them, that I don't think get as much love as Jose Ramirez, that are very much more underrated than him. So it's just hard because there's so much talent in Major League Baseball. It's hard to get all these guys their flowers and what they're doing in the game. But Corbin Carroll, especially, you're saying a 5'10" frame, he pound for pound is probably going to be up there with one of the strongest guys in baseball. Just the home runs he's able to hit with the exit velocities he's going to get hit with being how small he is too. So it's incredible. He's definitely a guy you want on your team, which is. I think when you think name value Corbin Carroll, you wouldn't think of him as a true superstar, but then you look at the numbers, and it's that guy is playing like a superstar year in and year out at 24 years old.
Yeah, he's a dog. And for those who don't know, the 30-30 club, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, how rare it is. So baseball is the oldest sport, professionally, I think, in America right now. At least it's like one of the oldest of the big four, football, baseball, hockey, basketball. And there are 50 unique MLB players, meaning 50 individuals who've had the 30-30 season. There's been 77 instances of it, but only 50 guys have done it in its entirety. And this is according to Baseball Almanac. So Corbin Carroll just entered an elite group of players, in my opinion, with 30-30, and especially for the stature of him. Like, you would think 30-30 is like, you got to be super athletic, one, to steal 30 bags, and two, to get the ball out of the baseball, get it out of the park. This is crazy. I bet you, if we looked at it, Corbin Carroll's probably top 10 smallest in terms of body size to do this out of the guys who have done it. And that would be my guess. I bet you he's definitely like smaller in the top 10% on that list.
I was going to say, I don't have the list in front of me here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was the smallest to do so, because I believe he's sub 200 pounds as well. So it's a very small guy. And like, we just don't see that many guys even the guys like Jose Altuve. So he's another small guy. He's hit 30 home runs a year, but I don't know if he's ever had a 30-30 year before.
Yeah, I don't know actually if he has or not, but it's something really cool. It's to see. There's another guy we're going to be talking about who just joined the 30-30 club as well for the first time. But let's talk about Corbin Carroll's teammate Geraldo Perdomo really quickly. So Perdomo now, who quietly has had a 6.8 B WAR on the year. Before we started the show, I believe this was third highest in the National League right now. Hagen, is Geraldo Perdomo like one of the most slept on secrets in baseball? It seems like the Arizona Diamondbacks are good at just hiding these guys.
I mean, yeah, I think if you just asked a casual baseball fan, I think a lot of them would not know who Geraldo Perdomo was. And if they do, it would be because he started the All Star game a couple of years ago. It wouldn't have been just because of what he's done this year. I mean, even by F4, he's the fifth best player in baseball right now with 6.9, only behind Shohei Ohtani, Bobby Witt Jr., Cal Raleigh, and Aaron Judge. I think if you would have told me at the beginning of the year, Geraldo Perdomo was going to be, even if you told me top 15 to 20 in F4, I would have laughed at you and called you names for just because I never would have thought that. I was never a big Geraldo Perdomo believer, especially in the beginning of the year when he wasn't walking at all, too. It took a while for him to start getting the walk rate up for a bit, but it's been incredible to see him do that. Obviously, 138 WRC plus, not as high as some of the other guys up there, but phenomenal defense this year and been great for the Arizona Diamondbacks to complement some of the guys they had there. Obviously, you had the Geno Suarez there for a while. You had the Corbin Carroll there. You had the Ketel Marte. They have like the team of these underrated stars. It's kind of crazy how many just guys like we haven't talked about Ketel Marte. He's one of the most underrated players in all of Major League Baseball too.
He is. That's actually a good call out. But I don't know what to say. Like it's he's hidden. Corbin Carroll's hidden. Marte. The Diamondbacks, I think it's just because they live in the shadow of the Padres and the Dodgers out there in the West, and even the Giants, like making massive moves, like going out and getting Devers this year. All three, it just seems like a lot of teams in the National League West make big splashes, and then you got Colorado who's doing it in a negative way. So like Arizona fits right in there as like that perfect little team who like they've won a World Series this decade. They've been to another World Series this decade. Sorry, not this decade, this millennium, I should say. With the World Series win, they went to a World Series a few years ago and lost. And now we thought their offense was good enough to get right back to a World Series if they added pitching, is why they added Corbin Burns before this season. And then obviously we all know what's happened this year. So look out for the Diamondbacks. They're a little sneaky for sure. I'm going to talk about the next guy who went 30-30. So that's Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the Yankees. This was really, I never thought about this. All the Yankee greats, Hagen, he's the third Yankee ever to join the 30-30 club. So we were just talking about how rare it is. The only other two players to do this in Yankee history, Alfonso Soriano and Bobby Bonds. All the Yankee players out there, and those are the two guys who go 30-30. And that proves more to my point where I was trying to talk about like size. Jazz Chisholm, 20 pounds heavier than Corbin Carroll, gives you more power. And he's also an inch taller. Bobby Bonds, 6'1", 190 pounds. Alfonso Soriano, I'm pulling up his height weight as we speak, but he was 6'1", 195 as a player. These were all much bigger guys than Corbin Carroll, and these are all the types of guys we're talking about with athletic stature for this 30-30 club. Hagen, do you think the Yankees, underappreciate Jazz Chisholm at this point? Because he's been kind of fantastic for them.
I mean, I think he does get a little bit underappreciated. I think a lot of people look too much into the off the field stuff, or even when he's talking shit to a lot of guys who are doing that. He's one of those guys like that. Just he's gonna have a big personality on and off the field. He plays like that too, which is it's fun to watch when he's rolling. He's a very fun player to watch. Obviously, he was on the cover of MLB The Show. Did he deserve that at the time? Probably not, but he still was. That just shows that he's a very marketable player. And I think being in New York too, I think a lot of people don't like it because you have the Yankee way on how things should be, and he's changed that. The backwards hat, the pop in the chains, all that, but he's been a very dynamic player. He's been one of the most dynamic players in Major League Baseball over the last calendar year for what he's been able to do for the Yankees ever since he came over there, to be quite honest with you. And I think a lot of people, I think they just expected him. I think it was when Stanton was down for a while and just didn't have a true superstar without Juan Soto to complement Aaron Judge. It was Jazz Chisholm was your guy. So I think they almost demanded a little bit more of him for that sense, and maybe that's why they thought they think he hasn't been as good as they think he is. But he's been incredible for the Yankees this year. Obviously, he's a very likable or hateable player, but you can't deny that he's a very dynamic player in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I agree. And this, if he only played in 124 games this year, plays, in a full season amount, he's got, excuse me, 30 stolen bases this year, 30 home runs. Last year, he stole 40 bags. I think he could be, and he has the most home runs he's ever hit in a season right now. We could be talking about a guy finishing 35 and like 50 in the stolen base department, maybe even 40-50, like a 40-50 season out of Jazz Chisholm if he gets a full year run in a, and I know New York State Yankee Stadium, the Little League field. I've heard it all, but he could put up stupid stats next year. I really think he can. We'll talk about his teammate Stan. Stan just hit his 450th bomb. Good for him. He's continuing to move closer and closer to that Hall of Fame where it's not going to be arguable anymore. He's just going to be put in there due to the longevity stats. Max Fried, he had a great week. He had a career high tying 13 strikeouts against Baltimore this year. And I want to just highlight Fried very quickly because he went awesome start, plateaued, and like bad, and then now he's back to being very good. He's got a 4.0 B WAR on the year. He's 18-5 with a 2.92 ERA on the year. Hagen. He's got just under 190 innings pitched with 182 Ks and a 1.1 WHIP. Like I think people like were harsh on Fried, especially in his downfall. Especially just looking at his career ERA, he's a career 3.05 ERA. He's having the arguably one of the better seasons of his career, and he's right back to where he was. So I think Fried's actually a true ace, and I think next year, if Cole comes back and is able to do anything like Garrett Cole was prior to surgery, Yankees are going to have a nice 1-2-3 with Rodon, Fried, and Cole. Let's keep moving forward just because I'm noticing we're 50 minutes in, 51 minutes in. So the NL home run race right now, it's tied with Schwab. Sorry. I was about to say Schwabi, but it's Schwarber and Ohtani. Who do you got? Who's going to win the NL home run race? They're both at 53 right now.
It's so hard to pick against Shohei Ohtani, but I want to say Kyle Schwarber really bad, but I think I'm going to say Shohei Ohtani here just because I think they have more to play for, and that's not saying that Kyle Schwarber doesn't care about these games left or anything, but he could be sitting a couple games here just getting ready for the postseason. Now they're going to have to buy most likely, so I get that factors in there too, but they're still fighting to win a division here. They still have to win the rest of the games this season, and they play some divisional opponents too, which is going to be, I don't know, I think I like Ohtani here, but I could see either one of them doing this. Honestly, I could see a tie too.
Yeah, I like that. That's a rational thought. I think the Dodgers do have more to play for at this point, so Ohtani can do that. Plus, Ohtani told Japanese media back on the 17th that he was having internal conversations with the Dodgers about playing some outfield, so maybe being able to use in relief as well as a relief pitcher. So we'll see what goes on there. I think he's a Swiss Army knife. We all know that Ohtani, he could do pretty much anything there is to do on a baseball diamond. We shall see how that all plays out, though. I'm super interested to see how it plays. Fernando Tatis Jr., another stud in the NL West. He is currently at 150 home runs in his career. He is currently only 26 years old. Obviously, people are going to be PEDs and say that, but Fernando Tatis Jr. Hagen, is this impressive to be at 150 at 26 years old?
Oh, it's very impressive because it also just shows how good you have to be at a young age to get into Major League Baseball. Yes, I know the steroids thing, and that's kind of closes his case a little bit there, but he's still been one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball when he's healthy this year. I know a lot of fans this year, especially Padres fans, really haven't been quite fond of him, and they said he hasn't really been himself this year, and he hasn't been Fernando Tatis, but by WAR, he's still a top 10 player in Major League Baseball this year because he's been playing outstanding defense. Obviously, still a 129 WRC plus, which is still very good, but just Fernando Tatis be holding to a lot higher of a standard because we treat him as a guy, but back in like 2021, 2020, where he was arguably the best player in all of Major Baseball, and he could win MVP, and I still think he will win an MVP in his career. I would bet on that if I could, but I think it's very impressive to see where he's at right now in his career, especially such a young age, still under contract for a very long time.
Yeah, dude, if you have him in dynasty leagues, I think he is a gold mine to hold on to for a long time. I think he's going to be a very good player statistically for the rest of his career. He's just a good baseball player. There's nothing more to say about it. Uh, any doubters, obviously he's being tested and regulated like a hawk at this point after already failing a PD and serving his time. So, um, I think that like we could look at his prior stats, but from here on out, now that he's been caught, he's playing his career. I think it's safe to assume you have to put trust. I know it's hard for some people to put trust in the league, but I think we have to put trust in Major League Baseball to, police it and monitor it. So you could almost assume like beginning of this year, I forgot when the suspension ended, whenever it was, like everything thereon is clean stats. At least I would like to assume that.
Especially too when obviously when he was on the steroids and stuff, he was seeming like he was going to be the next most marketable player in baseball. I mean, he was on the cover of the video game, and he was one of the most marketable players in all of baseball. Since then, cooled down a little bit because of the suspension and all that. But it's not one of these things where they're going to kind of let things fly ball because they need to market him. There's so much talent in Major League Baseball. They have so many guys they can market. They have more guys they need to market more than they don't need to market guys. So don't think that they're just letting him by with a pass or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's actually a very solid take. Chicago Cubs young stud Cade Horton. I just want to highlight him real quick. 1.9 WAR in the year through 21 starts now. I think he's now clearly going to win the National League Rookie of the Year. 115 innings pitched, 95 Ks, a 1.1 WHIP, and a 2.66 ERA. Cade Horton has been a dog this year, and I know I kind of dogged the Cubs in my piece, power ranking the rotations of the playoff bound teams of that date that was published last week. Cade Horton is like a guy making me like kind of regret putting them as the 12th ranked out of 12 teams, but again, he's a rookie. He's a rookie. It'll be a playoff scenario, I'm okay. I could sleep at night knowing that I did that, but I do want to own that I did say that, and I hope he does win Rookie of the Year. I hope he does pitch well in the playoffs. It's you never know till you see it.
No, I think it's a great point too, especially obviously he's been great in the second half. I mean, sorry, the first half he was 4.45 ERA guy in 56 innings. Second half in 58 innings, he's a .93 ERA. You could say probably arguably the best pitcher in the National League in the second half. But he's for sure going to win Rookie of the Year. I would say at this point, the books have him at -370. But like you said too, it's a playoff scenario. We see guys all the time. We see guys who are very good pitchers in the regular season, but the pressure gets to them and they can't pitch. So it's going to be you can't bank on him to be a sub-1 ERA guy in the postseason for a rookie as well. I mean, he's a young guy. He hasn't experienced the atmosphere at all. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he does.
Yeah. Last thing before we go into MLB news and injuries, Hunter Green, he took a no-hit bid in the 7th. He shut out the Cubs the other day. I thought it was really impressive. It was one hit performance, got the win, the quality start. He ended up going 9 innings and 9 strikeouts in that performance. So the Reds, like I said it earlier, if the Reds get a wild card matchup and they stay in, they can pitch their way through a postseason game. It's the bats I question. And Hunter Green, I think he could chew up any lineup. I really do. There's no one this year in baseball that's really like, wow, like, they're automatic. Like we've all seen the Dodgers had their, ebbs and flows this year. The Yankees, we've seen the Phillies have their ebbs and flows, and obviously their bad news with Wheeler and such. The Mets, the Tigers, we've seen it all this year. So Hunter Green can absolutely take on anyone, and it'd be some fun playoff baseball to watch if he takes the bump. Let's jump really quick to MLB news and injuries because we're coming up on the hour mark. So Cole Reagans, he was reactivated. He was out for 3 months due to a strained rotator cuff. Good to see him back. Jordan Alvarez, this is just a lost season for the big fella down in Houston. He's out for a while. This is with the ankle injury, and this is according to manager Joe Espada. This was back on the 16th, so he's dealing with a sprained ankle. Texas activated Tyler Mahle, who was having a really good season before he got injured. Coming back on Friday, goes 4 2/3 innings, 6 Ks, 0 ERA, 1.07 WHIP. He looks like he's right back where he started the season. Brian Wu, Good news, he is okay upon further examination. Considered day to day. He was dealing with a little minor inflammation in his right pectoral. So this is really good news. Brian Woo's had a fair share of injury scares throughout the years and like injuries that he sustained. He's having a fantastic year. No one wanted to see him, miss any time. The Twins, they are now going to be without Pablo Lopez. He is going to end his season on the 15-day IL due to a right forearm strain. So hopefully, whenever we hear forearm strains, we know what that means. That something's probably wrong with the elbow, or if not, like connecting to the elbow with the forearm. I hope it's not anything serious, but we'll see what happens here in the offseason. Bo Bichette for Toronto, he's expected to resume baseball activities this week. He's trying to find some time in the field for the playoffs, and we'll see, where he lands. But, obviously for him, we all know the Bo Bichette sweepstakes are going to begin this offseason. He enters a free agent year. So if he plays hot in these playoffs after leading, I think, was it the American League or he leads the AL in hits. So
It was all baseball, and he still does. I think he has the lead by about 8 going in the last week of the season.
That's insane. And he's been out for a little bit now. Chris Bassett, he's hitting the IL for lower back inflammation. This is retroactive to the 19th of September, 3 days ago. So we'll see if he's going to be able to pitch wild card, doubtful, but maybe in the divisional round. We'll see. Boston's moving Peyton Toll to the bullpen for the remainder of the season, and Kyle Harrison sliding into his spot in the rotation. A little Boston news. We'll see how that pans out for them. They got a big week in front of them, Boston, 2 crucial series. Catcher for the Dodgers, Will Smith, is suffering from a hairline fracture in his injured hand, and this is according to Dave Roberts. Hate to see it. So his regular season's over. We'll see if he's available for the playoffs. Hagen, what do you think if Will Smith can't go? I think I seriously doubt the Dodgers' ability to Dalton Rushing has not really impressed me at all behind the dish. What do you like? It's a pretty important position to go down right here at the end.
I mean, it's very important. Obviously, you're losing your starting catcher who knows the pitching staff better than anybody else, and more importantly, too, you lose a bat too, who's been a 153 WRC plus on the year. I know he's only played in 102 games this year, but he's a catcher trying to preserve him a little bit. But this would be a huge crushing loss to the Dodgers if he's not available by the postseason. But I still think the Dodgers have enough firepower to feel good about them in the playoffs.
Yeah. And the last thing that I thought was really cool to highlight, if you didn't check it out yet, Francisco Lindor's wife absolutely killing the national anthem on the violin earlier this week. Katya killed it. Go check out that video. It's all over Twitter. I was going to show it, but due to time constraints, I'm not going to play it right now. I have one last take, but I really got 3 things going on here. So, Hagen, let's start with the Dodgers and fan attendance, because I think people constantly say, like, who wants to go watch a 3-hour baseball game? Baseball has taken strides to making this game faster, pitch count, looking to integrate ABS. Dodgers just sold 4 million seats in attendance this year. So it's the first time the Dodgers passed the 4 million mark in finishing the regular season with 4,012,470 fans. Wild. The single season record is 4.48 million. And it was by the Rockies during the 1993 when they were the expansion team. So Dodgers, obviously a few hundred fans off, but they weren't that far off from the all-time record. Baseball is back, people. And this just goes to show, and I'm highlighting this, if you spend money on your team, people will come and you will make your investment back. Maybe it cuts into your profits a little bit. You're still turning a revenue. Stop being cheap, owners.
That's what my take would be, is if you build it, they will come. I mean, I know the Dodgers, yes, they can do things payroll-wise other teams can't do. I 100% see that, but also it's in Los Angeles. They have this crazy payroll, but look at how expensive tickets are. Look at how expensive parking is. Look at how expensive food and concessions are there. People are still showing up. You go to a game at Dodger Stadium, you are stuck in that parking lot if you're not leaving by the 7th inning for hours. It's a very shitty place to put a stadium and to get in and out of, because there's just that one main road, really. and people are still showing up and they're doing this. It's incredible to see. Probably a big part of that's because of Shohei Ohtani and people visiting. You want to come see Shohei Ohtani and all that, but I think a lot of people will just say that, oh, they bought this just because they did this. They're getting a lot of fans there. No, it's very expensive to go to a game there now. It's hard to take a family of four to a game per se now, to a Dodgers game, how expensive it is now. And it's a pain to get out of the stadium too after the game, and people are still showing up. So I think this just really shows a lot about the Dodgers as an organization. It's just really cool to see that from them.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, obviously Shohei has a bunch to do with it, and some of the legends like Kershaw, Will Smith. Let's face it, Blake Snell and the rest of the rotation, Tyler Glasnow, Roki, Yamamoto, all these guys are getting it. But that's what the Dodgers did. The Dodgers ownership went out and paid guys. They got stars. Now no one wants to play them in a playoff series. They're the reigning, world champions, and they haven't batted an eye really since. Yeah, sure, a few games they lost, but that's baseball. People go like up and down all the time. That being said, a natural transition from Dodgers selling all these tickets is to this point. So this is from The Athletic, and the league has confirmed to The Athletic that there's been quote unquote bad actors that have been able to steal and in fact resell fans digital tickets that are stored and bought on the Ballpark app. So I've used this app, which kind of concerns me now. So the platform's used by all 30 MLB teams, and they now have sent out a statement issuing, warning customers to change their passwords. So I guess some people were showing up to the parks and they went to go find their digital tickets, and they're disappeared, and they got resold, and they found their seats not just on another resale site or sold already somewhere else. This is, if I'm the MLB, I know that, changing your password is really important nowadays, like in the oh my goodness, I'm tongue tied. In the world of technology that we live in, changing your password more often than not usually is a greater chance of increasing your security on a case by case basis. I think the MLB has to pay some retributions to these people and, give them some free tickets or something for having to deal with this. I don't know how they might have already dealt with the people who this happened to, but this is a very bad look for MLB to not it's on their platform. MLB Ballpark is an MLB app. I'm like pretty sure. I would guesstimate they own it. So they got to deal with that. Have you heard about that at all with the ticket stealing?
That was almost the first I ever heard of it. But I mean, as someone who bought tickets on the MLB app literally last week that I was at the game, that concerns me a little bit now.
Yeah. And finally, last but not least, well, they are last and they are least, and that is the Colorado Rockies. This is according to Bleacher Report. So they took the new quantification of how bad the 2025 Rockies are. So this week, they passed the minus 400 run differential mark. Currently, when this was written, they were minus 404. That's 209, almost like half of the amount of run differential. They're 209 runs behind the second worst team, which is the Nationals in run differential. It would easily be the worst mark in modern MLB history from 1901 to present. We're talking 124 years of baseball, beating the 1932 Red Sox at minus 349. Something has got to change in Colorado, and it's got to change quickly. Hagen, do you smell any sale of ownership or anything that Colorado's going to do to drastically improve the results they've yielded on the field this year?
For the way that ownership operates, I see no way that they are selling anytime soon, even though that is for the betterment of the team. I mean, even the moves they've shown, firing GMs, hiring GMs, it's a lot of the sons are in the front office of the owner and stuff like that. It's just a very not well run organization, and it's not going to change unless you get a new owner.
Yeah, and the principal owners are the Monfort brothers. I don't know, who knows them, but it looks. I think they made their money through food. Congra Foods. Do you know this? Conagra. Do you know it at all?
Never heard of it before.
So all their money comes from a meat packing and distributing company. It was acquired by Conagra Foods, but essentially they're rich and they need to sell. There's a plenty of billionaires in Colorado. Sell the team to someone else who's going to care, because you're not dealing with the technology, you're not dealing with the pitching and the environment that they have to pitch in. It doesn't seem that there's any call for help anytime soon, and that's really disappointing for Colorado fans. So we'll end on that. We got a ton of great baseball this week. As we mentioned, that Seattle Dodgers series is huge. Red Sox got 2 big series. Toronto's got 2 big series. Detroit's got 2 massive series, one with Cleveland. A lot of great baseball. Hagen, always a pleasure. Anything else you want to mention before we hop off?
I mean, just like you said, a lot of great baseball this week. That's going to be, even the next time we're going to talk, it's going to be this wild card picture. It's going to shake up a lot differently. We could see teams, we're going to see teams eliminated. We're going to see teams clinch from now on. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. And then just from the Reed Garrett side of things, obviously being a Reed Garrett enthusiast, he might be getting Tommy John, which does suck to hear that. But so let's hope that he dodges that.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you again for listening. Go follow us on the website, subscribe to our newsletter. We have new blogs coming out all the time on there. Thank you and peace out. Bye.